When are we gonna start busting Deceptichops?
Okay, here's a look at Fantastic Models FM-03 Warhorse, and I got this figure today from my friend and owner of toyarena.com, and if you're interested in this, you can get it from toyarena.com. He does currently have this figure in stock. But here you could see what the front of the box looks like. That's still in the nice protective plastic cover. Unfortunately, I don't keep the boxes, so as nice as this is for FanToys to put their boxes in a nice protective cover, yeah, this doesn't really help me so much. But here you can see what the front of the box looks like. Nice packaging design with the nice artwork of Ironhide in robot mode and in his alt mode. But I just want to point something out. Look at the nice gray chest. The top of the chest is gray. It doesn't have like a red piece up there. So I'm just pointing that out just to set it up when I go over the figure. But it's a nice artwork on the front. And the back, you get your typical product images. And here, the bio, you can pause and read that if you're interested to know what that says. And then the side of the box, you get FM-03 Warhorse and the QR code you could scan if you're interested. And the other side's probably the same thing, just the QR code's on the other side. And the top of the box, you get warning words and stuff. And the bottom is the same thing. So that is a look at the box. So now let's do an unboxing and first impressions. And here is a look at the figure and all of the accessories that this comes with. So now let's go over them, starting off first with my favorite, the bio card. So here you could see they have the rendered sketch of the figure in robot mode. And the back, you get your typical product images, robot mode, alt mode, his stats, and the bio that you always have to zoom in to be able to read what that says. It probably says the same thing like on the back of the packaging. But yeah, here's a look at the bio card. And then the instructions booklet, X-Transbots, with that same CG rendering. And you open it up, here's the contents, everything that you get with the figure. And then the transformation, and yeah, there's a lot to say about the transformation. It's the same typical thing that I always point out with FanToys, their tolerance. They rely a lot on the paint, the friction from the paint, which helps in some areas, but it causes other problems in other areas, such as tabbing them in or untabbing them. But this particular figure, trying to clean everything up, all the panel pieces, is really, really frustrating. Kind of like the Magic Square Ironhide, if some of you out there know what I'm referring to. But yeah, the point is the engineering of this, I don't think was done very well because, yeah, you're having to fuss with so many parts to get things all lined up. And I'll just tell you this as a suggestion. you have to make sure that you manipulate each part perfectly just to get things to fit in. But yeah, here's a look at the instructions booklet. And then now let's go over all these accessories. So first, let's take a look at his handgun. And every time I think of Ironhide with the standard Autobot gun, I always sadly remember that scene from the movie when he was firing both of these and Ratchet. Yeah, very unfortunate, but nicely sculpted, nicely painted. These are nice accessories. And then this was cool. They gave you that jetpack from that episode when he was trying to rescue Carly. And then they give you the blast effects that you can attach here. Nice tolerance here. Fits in very securely. So this is really nice. I'll show that off in a little bit. And then we do get this drill, which is really cool from that episode when he was drilling, you know, after they blasted the cave and stuff. But yeah, this is another nice accessory. And then the I don't know what you call this, but yeah, it was that from that episode also when him and Blue Streak went after the Decepticons and he was firing at them. So yeah, this is cool, and I'll show this off in a little bit. And then yeah, as far as like the G1 toy, they did give you, I don't know, I forgot what this is called, but yeah, they did give you this weapon thing from the original G1 toy. So it's nicely chrome plated like the original G1 toy. And then they gave you this blast effects. I mean, I was looking through the cartoon episodes. I don't remember a scene like this, but I'm pretty sure there's probably an episode when he was using this. But yeah, here's a look at this. And I'll just point this out real quick. I was telling you, FanToys, their tolerance, some areas work well, some areas don't. And here I just want to point out real quick that this does not work very well. Once you get this to tab in, the tolerance is not very tight, so this just very easily comes out. Yeah, so you can wrap the fingers around so you could see it. Just once you get it tabbed in, it just easily comes out. And then once you try to attach this is definitely going to cause this to come off. So just wanted to point that out real quick. The tolerance isn't done very well for this. And then we do get this. I'm not sure what this is from, but I could just tell you, you could see it looks like he's maybe an older version of Ironhide with all that extra sculpted wrinkles on his face. Yeah, I guess it's kind of cool. So I guess you'd just say it's accessories are always nice. And then also from the G1, I think this is a seat for the Diaclone for that alt mode. And then last we do get all these nice alternate face plates. Let me see if I could zoom in so you could see. Yeah, these are cool. You get I don't know, kind of like an open mouth, and then kind of like a happy mouth, and then he's like grinning, and then there's another one where he looks like he's really angry. So yeah, those are some nice extra face plates. And because I actually like this one here, I'll just show you how to put this on. Pretty easy. Let's come up a little bit more. You just simply untab his head, and I'm gonna point something out here in a bit after, but you basically just your typical, it's just a little peg, and then you replace it. And I'm showing you this just because I wanted to I like this face much better, so this looks really nice. So those are the accessories. And now, like I just said, I wanted to point something out. The FanToys QC issue. Unfortunately, this is the very first time I actually have an issue with this figure. I don't know if you saw it, but you could see he is missing that gap filler piece that goes into the front of his neck. And I thoroughly checked the box and the plastic, and when I was recording my unboxing, I can confirm that this never came with the gap filler piece. So unfortunately, yeah, like I said, this is the first time I ever got a QC with FanToys, and I did send the email out, so hopefully, I don't know, I never, you know, had to email them before, so I don't know how all this works, so hopefully I will get that replacement. But as far as the figure goes, now let's go over the figure, and there are a lot of things I want to point out. So let's first zoom out here a little bit and get a better view. So first, you could see it is a nicely sculpted, nicely proportioned figure all around. He does look really nice. But there are some little details aesthetically that I don't think work out so well, which the first one, like a lot of people were saying, was the windows. And here I'll just speak to this. The shape of this window is not really accurate to the cartoon. It's almost square. It should be a little bit longer, more rectangular shape. And I carefully looked at it during transformation to see if they could have made these pieces, you know, if they could have extend or made it smaller so that this window could have come out. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, as part of like design, I'm just trying to see if they could have designed it where this was smaller and the window was a little wider. But this is what we got. So that's just one area I'll speak to that everyone seems to complain. But I will tell you, here's that fake it till you make it kind of thing. You can put them at an angle, and then you'll see you don't really notice it so much, only when you put it straight. And for me, I'll just tell you, speaking of the window, boy, am I so glad that they used a darker shade of transparent blue window, because now this is not like the video review that you saw where it was lighter. You could see all the kibble in here, because you could see you don't really see all the kibble in here. So I'm really happy about that. But now continuing on with the aesthetics, something I didn't like, well, there's two things. One is this yellow stripe, only because that's not very tune accurate, but I'm kind of getting used to it because that yellow stripe does add a little nice accent to it. So it just depends on, you know, how you're looking at it. So I'm looking at it, understanding this is not very tune accurate, but this yellow does add a nice little accent color, so it looks nice. However, up here, this red connecting tab here, that really bothers me, because I always know Ironhide, the whole top part of his chest should be gray, because you could see how they painted these to be gray. And then there you have this red tab here that's not very tune accurate, so that's something that bothers me. But as far as everything else, and I'm speaking to things, you know, I know a lot of people complain about saying all these lines and panel, they call them panel lines, but these are called parting lines. These actually don't bother me that much, you know, these lines here that you see. But the one area where it does bother me is the hip skirts. You could see where, you know, the parting lines appear so that the hip skirts could come out, because that changes the design shape here, because his hips should be this kind of shape, but it should have the diamond in the middle, not this extra stuff. So if anything, that's just, you know, just really nitpicky stuff that I don't really think matters, but I'm just addressing what I know a lot of people say. So here, taking a look. So now let's just do this. Now let's go over the figure. Well, let's do it this way. Let's come up a little bit closer this way so you can get a better view. The head, I know a lot of people were pointing out, and I agree, the sculpt of the head, there's something off about the sculpt of the head. Maybe the lower part of his head kind of goes in a little bit too much when it should maybe come down a little bit straighter. And then the sculpt of the face, maybe they should have more harder edges to kind of show the lines. But yeah, there's something off about the sculpt of the head. But either way, it's still nice. And now in terms of the articulation with that missing gap filler piece, the head does go up all the way, really nice. It can go down a little bit and it can rotate side to side. But this one does not have that head tilt. And I think that was really needed for certain poses, because when I'm posing the figure, this is where I think this really needs that confused dog look or the ball joint kind of thing for the head. But this is what we got for the head. It still works good enough. And then the shoulders, you could see they can go forward and back on friction. There's a lot of die cast throughout this figure too. It can go out to the side. And then here, FanToys tolerance. This is my complaint with FanToys. You do have a really tight bicep swivel. You want to be careful. I always point out, just grab close to it if you want to rotate it to, prevent any damage. And then you do get more than 90-degree bends. So I know those people who like articulation. There's that. But this one does not have the butterfly joints. And I'll also say, posing this figure, I think this one really did need some butterfly joints to get some extra articulation. And then coming down, well, let's go over his hands. X-Transbot. You could see the typical FanToys hands. They're really nice. It can rotate. The fingers, that's what I'm speaking about, X-Transbots. Look at how nice these fingers are done. Really nice, X-Transbots. And then he does have a nice clickety ratchet for a waist rotation. And he does have a really nice ab crunch. That's cool. And then you could see he does have these hip skirts that go all around, all 6 of them, front, back, side. So his legs, there's something funny about the ratchet here. So you just want to make sure you grab close to the joint to articulate the hips. But they can go up and down and back on a nice ratchet. And they can go out to the side on friction. He does have the thigh rotation, and he does have a double jointed knee. So for those people that like the articulation, look at this. You can get some really cool dynamic poses with this figure. And then he does have ankle tilt, which is always needed on all figures. And he does have a little toe tilt down due to the transformation, but no toe tilt up. So overall, it's your standard articulation, but there's a lot of cool things about it. And then yeah, back to the aesthetics, the typical FanToys, the nice paint finish. It's nicely sculpted, nicely painted. But yeah, it has a nice finish to it. So there's a lot of things that I like about this figure aesthetically. Now, form and function, I just pointed out some of the articulation. The head, doesn't go, side to side. The confused dog look. There's no butterfly joints. And this is the first time I kind of feel like it's needed on this figure because of all those accessories that this comes with. So yeah, overall, this is a really nice figure. So here's a look at fantastic models, FM-03 Warhorse in his robot mode. And now for some comparisons, let's first compare this with the animation model and see how well they captured the toon aesthetics. And you could see they did a nice job of capturing the sculpt of the figure, all the little details, that triangle there. So I think they did a nice job. And then the side view, you could see they did a nice job cleaning up the back. So that's nice. And then the back view, they did a nice job putting the all the back so it's nice and gray. They actually painted that a dark gray. So yeah, I think they did a nice job. And now for some more comparisons. Here he is next to the Takata version of Ironhide with the Shadow Fisher upgrade set, the hip things that people complain about. And actually, you know, people complain a lot about this figure. I really don't know why. But now after I was transforming both of these, I can tell you that I think this one, in terms of the engineering design, was done definitely much better than the FanToys. This one, as I'm sure maybe you know, it's very panely, but unless you start manipulating it, trying to transform it, you won't notice just how I can't say it very simply because there's a lot of issues throughout when you're trying to transform it from robot mode to alt mode, and from alt mode to robot mode. There's all these little things I always point out to try to help. But yeah, that's why you have your popular YouTube reviewers, right? And then here, here he is next to the original G1, but this one has the upgrade set. I forgot who this was by, but yeah, you could see this looks really nice, and it's customized because I rotated his arms up so he looks a little bit more proportionate. So here you could see what he looks like with next to the original G1. But anyways, instead of rambling, now let's just get right down into it and transform him to his alt mode and take a look at that.
Ironhide, we gotta stop that water.
Stop talking, tighten your shock absorbers and get in. We're gonna make a new river.
Let's go!
So here is a look at Warhorse, aka Ironhide, in his alt mode. So here you could see what he looks like all around. It's nicely sculpted, nicely proportioned, has the nice dark transparent blue windows, which does cover the kibble you could see in there, unless you zoom in and then you could see it. But overall, I think it's a nicely sculpted and painted figure with the nice rubber wheels, chrome plated rims. And then as far as the features or form and function, the doors can open. You could see, which is really cool, but there is no dashboard or seats in there. And it does open also on the other side. Unfortunately, you don't get like a opening piece for the back, the trunk. But yeah, overall, this is done really nice. So just a little close-up look at all the details, the front lights there, the silver gray, metallic gray paint for the bumpers. Also on the back, they did give you some extra detail, the nice yellow stripe. Yeah, so those are the positive. And then in terms of the negatives, there's quite a lot to point out. So I'm just speaking randomly. So first, I think a lot of people know the paint chipping. Yeah, so I don't know where exactly it is. But yeah, you could see there is some paint chipping on that yellow. but also there's going to be some paint chipping on the red on the transparent blue windows. I don't remember exactly where, but main thing is I'm just pointing out a concern that you probably need to have and be careful when you're transforming the figure. Oh yeah, like up here you might get some paint chipping off that red because it's a transparent blue plastic. And then the major thing, issue, the negative in terms of the form and function, which is the engine, I guess the engineering. You could see here all these panel pieces, these tabs. They don't, well, first of all, transforming it, trying to get them all in is a very, very huge challenge in itself, because there's a lot all over the place. But the other issue is once you get everything all in place, trying to keep them tabbed in is very hard. And the whole time I'm trying to be as gentle as I can, because once you try to adjust and fix one area, another area is gonna start popping off. So I'm kind of saving that for later to show you. But yeah, overall I think it's a nice figure. It has a good weight to it. You do have rubber wheels that do roll. Yeah, so now for some comparisons, let's compare this with the animation model. And you could see, I think they did a really nice job capturing the toon aesthetics with the nice transparent blue windows, which looks really nice. And then from the back view, you could see they did a nice job. They put some little stripes here for the yellow rear lights, but it still looks nice. For the most part, I think this is very toon accurate. So this is a really nice looking alt mode. And now for some comparisons. Here's just a quick look next to the original G1. So here you could see what these two look like next to each other. This one, obviously, with the blue windows, definitely captures more of the G1 cartoon aesthetics. And this is typical of G1. The toy doesn't match the cartoon doesn't match the toy. But yeah, here's just a quick look next to the original G1. And then for another comparison, let's get him out. Here is the Takata official masterpiece version. So first, here you could just see the difference between the two. Interestingly, they're both about the same scale, the same height, size, and width. So that's kind of interesting. Different colored windows. This one I think matches more the cartoon. This one's just a darker tinted blue windows. But yeah, you could see the difference. And then the other difference is the Takata. I laugh because it just kind of reminds me of X-Transbots does the same thing. You could see the Takata does kind of like that fusion of the original G1 toon look with some realistic details such as the windshield wipers. And then look at the way they handled the headlights and the bumper, that nice metallic paint. I mean the chrome plate, just like the original G1 toy. So there's the fusion with the G1. And then the back, also some more realistic details. You could see the windshield wipers. And then the back here, you could see it has the nice transparent plastic for the rear lights, which is more realistic, and the chrome plated bumper, the G1. So that's why I laugh, because I noticed that X-Transbots is really trying to capture this, you know, the same thing that Takata does, the fusion of the three, the cartoon aesthetics, the G1 toy, and some of the realistic. And FanToys, yeah, here with this figure, they chose to try to capture more the cartoon aesthetics. But yeah, here you could see the difference between the let's see, all three of them. So here you could get a nice group shot. So here you could see what all these look like next to each other. And now I'll just speak to here the engineering. The Takata, yeah, and I'm hesitating because everyone has different opinions. I don't know why so many people hate on this figure, because here I'm gonna say something that's totally different than what most people impression of this is. I really like this figure, especially with the upgrade set from the Shadow Fisher. And more importantly, speaking of the engineering, the transformation, this was designed much what's a good word? This was designed to work more efficiently in terms of manipulating the parts and transforming the figure. This one does not work very well. There's just too many panel pieces, and then it becomes a really big mess trying to get them all to tab in and then trying to get them staying tabbed in. But here with Takata, you have none of those issues. Very easy to transform all the pieces. Look at, I can do all of this. Nothing is falling out of place. And if I do this with the Takata, I mean the FanToys or Fantastic model, you could see things are starting to come untabbed, and then you have to put them back, and then when you do, you could see this thing comes untabbed. So this, in terms of the engineering, it wasn't designed very well in my opinion. But anyways, this is not a comparison. Here's just a quick look next to the Takata. So now let's transform him back to robot mode and have our final thoughts. Okay, now that we got Warhorse, aka Masterpiece Ironhide, back in robot mode, now I can give you my final thoughts. So overall, all things considered, everything that I shared and pointed out in my review, this is actually a really nice figure. Now, in terms of the aesthetics, first the cartoon aesthetics, I think they did a nice job, you know, such as the back here. You could see they took the time to paint it gray to be tune accurate. But there are things a little off, such as this yellow stripe. That's not very tune accurate. But I pointed out that it actually looks nice. It does give it an extra detail to kind of enhance the figure. It looks really nice. But then there are little things that bother me, such as that red hook tab there. That's not very tune accurate. But fortunately, you don't really look at the figure from the top, so you don't really notice it. And in terms of the design aesthetics, I think they did a nice job, even though I know people complain about here these parting lines that they call panel lines. Yeah, that just depends on you, I guess. For me, it doesn't really bother me that much, because yeah, I understand why it's like that, you know, so it doesn't really bother me. But the shape of the window, yeah, it is, like I pointed out, it is more square. It should be more rectangular. But, you know, after, you know, transforming it and going over the figure, it actually doesn't look all that bad, in my opinion. You kind of get used to it. So, yeah, it's not bad. But the most important thing for me is I like the fact that they made it a dark blue transparent plastic. So it does cover all that kibble that you see in there, so it's not like the video where it's kind of worrisome seeing how you could see all that kibble in there. So yeah, I think they did a nice job there. And in terms of the form and function, which is basically your articulation here in robot mode, it does have your standard amount of articulation, but typical FanToys, you know, some areas they're really tight, such as the bicep swivel. So my suggestion, just grab close to the joint to articulate it there to prevent any, you know, damage or anything like that. And the fingers, X-Transbots, are done really nice. Yeah, I also pointed out this particular figure with the accessories that they gave you. I think it could have used some extra articulation, such as like here the head, you know, if it could, you know, tilt left and right, you know, that confused dog look. Because, yeah, I think it's needed that. And then holding some of those accessories, I think this is where it might have benefited from having those butterfly joints. So, yeah, I can argue that, you know, it is a little limited in the articulation. But overall, like I said, I think it's still good enough. You could still get some really nice dynamic poses out of it. And then in terms of the engineering, that, yeah, maybe you'll see when your popular YouTube reviewers do their transformation, you'll see that there's definitely a lot of challenges trying to manipulate these parts so that they will fit in, tab in. And my suggestion to you there is, this is one of those where you have to transform it very perfectly. If it's supposed to be at a right angle, you can't have it a little bit this way. I mean, otherwise things are not going to tab in. And then you need to make sure you push and squeeze things to get them in all the way. Yeah, so that's just my suggestion with the transformation. But there's other things that you need to know that your popular YouTube reviewers, I'm sure, should point it out so that you're aware of it. But the engineering, the main point is it's not just very panelly, it's just the way they designed it was it wasn't done very well, in my opinion. And then last, because some people commented, is the cost, which I agree is another factor that needs to be taken into consideration. This is a $215 figure, and it is expensive, as with all of the FanToys figures are pretty expensive, or fantastic model. And the question is it really worth $250? Well, you just have to look at what you're getting. First, you're getting a really nice quality premium figure with the die cast, the nice paint finish, and it is nicely sculpted, nicely proportioned, so it looks really nice. But is it worth $215? In my opinion, I'll just say, you know, like all their figures, I think it's a little too pricey. If anything, I think this should be worth maybe $180. And if you wait to get it from Shozi's store, you could probably get it for about $180, I think. But yeah, the cost is another factor. It is pretty expensive. So yeah, I just wanted to speak to that. Now, you know, in terms of the comparison, you know, with the Takata, I just wanted to speak to this because it's just people complain so much about this figure. And, you know, I will agree that aesthetically, the original one without the upgrade set, yeah, the Takata does not really capture the cartoon aesthetics very well. But you have to remember, this was an older figure. This was before they were focusing on more of the cartoon aesthetics, which I think came out with the Sunstreaker, was the first figure when they decided to make the change in their design. And that's when the price of the Masterpiece figures went up with the Sunstreaker. So this was still the old Masterpiece style where you could see the windshield wipers here, the chrome plated bumpers and lights capturing the G1 toys. So this was still the old design where they were trying to capture the fusion of all three, the cartoon aesthetics, the G1 toy, and some of the realistic details, which is what X-Transbots does. So you have to take all of that into consideration. But overall, like I already pointed out, the engineering on this is I don't like using the word better, but yeah, the engineering was done much better than the FanToys, and actually also the X-Transbots, which, you know, I didn't speak to because I didn't get it. But I'll just let you know, I carefully watched many reviews before this came out to see if I wanted to get it. And then when making this review, I had to watch a lot of those reviews again. And in short, in general, I can tell you the X-Transbots there's some positive and negatives, just like there's positive and negatives here. So the main point is it really just depends on you, what your preference is, what you like and don't like. So with that, I'll just tell you, for me, I actually, after reviewing the figure, transforming the figure, all things considered, I actually really like this figure a lot. So yeah, with that, you know, that's just giving you my final thoughts on this figure. So it's up to you, you know, if you decide you want to get this figure or not. I could just tell you, I'm happy with this figure. Now I have the challenge. Is this going to go in my Masterpiece collection and replace the Takata version, or is this still staying in my collection? And then what am I going to do with this? So yeah, I got a decision to make there, but I can tell you that I'm leaning towards replacing the Takata with this one, because it just looks nice. And because I don't have to transform it, you know, I don't have to deal with the issues I pointed out with the engineering design for the transformation. But anyways, I'm starting to ramble. I'll just end it there and tell you that's my final thoughts and review for the fantastic model FM-03 Warhorse, or their version of a Masterpiece scaled Ironhide.
This is where we store our ammo. Of course, we'd rather not have any of this stuff around. But until the Decepticons change or we pacify them once and for all...
Someone should pacify those Decepticons and their underwater headquarters.